The candles on Samantha Parker's birthday cake flickered gently, untouched. Laughter filled the dining room, until Jessica, her younger sister, clinked her glass and said, "I have an announcement. And pregnant, and Adam's the father." Samantha blinked, frozen. Her husband, Adam, turned ghostly pale, while her parents shifted in their seats. No one moved. No one defended it. No one denied it. Jessica smiled, resting her hand on her stomach like she was just won a prize. The air turned still. Samantha didn't cry. She didn't yell. She didn't ask why. She simply looked around the table at the people she once called family and understood, in a flash, that her place in it was over. She stood slowly, picked up her coat, and walked out into the night. Not with heartbreak, with clarity. This wasn't just betrayal, it was a declaration, and they had no idea what she was about to do. Samantha Parker had always been the responsible one. At 35, she'd carved out a steady, purposeful life as a nonprofit director in Seattle. She was the kind of woman who remembered birthdays, followed up on grant deadlines, and checked in with her parents weekly. She managed community development projects with precision and was known for being calm under pressure. Her colleagues trusted her. Her interns admired her. Her parents relied on her. And her sister Jessica? Well, Jessica had always taken her for granted. Jessica was the younger sister who grew up beautiful, unpredictable, and demanding. She bounced from passion to passion, acting, photography, yoga teacher certification, and quit each within months. Their mother adored her. "She's just figuring herself out," she'd say. Samantha, meanwhile, was expected to be the example. When Jessica flunked out of college, Samantha was the one who covered the tuition balance. When Jessica couldn't hold a job, Samantha helped her polish her resume and coached her through interviews. When Jessica couldn't make rent, Samantha offered her the guest room. Even after Samantha married Adam, her boundaries with Jessica blurred. Adam, ever observant and cautious, voiced concerns early. "She doesn't respect limits," he said once after Jessica showed up unannounced on their anniversary weekend. Samantha waved it off. "She just doesn't have anyone else," she wanted to believe. Her compassion was enough to hold everything together. Adam had been her rock. He was a financial planner, deliberate and risk-averse. He loved spreadsheets, long walks, and French press coffee. He folded his laundry the same way every Sunday. He wasn't romantic, but he was dependable. Their marriage was calm, structured, and full of shared hopes, especially their dream of starting a family. Samantha and Adam had been trying for 2 years. There were fertility consultations, hormone tests, and quiet nights filled with cautious. Jessica knew how much this meant to Samantha. She even joked once, "If I ever get pregnant before you, I'll just hand you the baby." At the time, it stung. Now, it chilled her. The night of her 35th birthday had been carefully planned. Samantha had made the reservation herself. A downtown bistro with candles, a private room, and her favorite cake, white chocolate raspberry. Her parents arrived with gifts. Jessica brought charm and a late entrance. Adam was quiet but attentive. The night was warm with promise. In the days that followed, Samantha didn't hear from Adam. Not a single message. Her parents begged her to forgive, called it a mistake. Jessica sent one text, "I didn't mean to hurt you, love is messy." Samantha didn't respond. She took time off work. She shut the door, and she began to look. She searched bank statements, cross-referenced travel schedules. She found receipts, restaurant tabs, hotel bookings. She remembered Jessica staying over when she was out of town. Slowly, it all came together. This wasn't a moment of weakness. It was a sustained betrayal of her trust, her body, her future. But Samantha didn't fall apart. She built a strategy. Because this wasn't just about infidelity. This was about respect, identity, and justice. And they had no idea who they were messing with. The weeks after the birthday dinner were oddly quiet, like the world had hit mute. Samantha's phone buzzed with sympathy from coworkers who had heard fragments of the story, some mentioning betrayal, others alluding to family drama. But none of them knew the full truth. Her mother, however, texted every day, not to ask how she was, but to pressure her into forgiveness. "This baby is family," one message read. "You can't just cut her out." It stung more than silence. Her mother hadn't asked how Samantha was sleeping, eating, functioning. Instead, she had already decided Jessica's unborn child deserved more grace than Samantha's broken heart. Samantha hadn't seen Adam since that night, but her private investigator had. He was still living comfortably in the condo, acting like nothing had happened. Jessica had started staying there regularly. They weren't hiding it. They didn't think they had to. Meanwhile, Samantha moved into a friend's cozy guest house on the other side of town. It smelled like lemon and cedar. It was quiet. No footsteps in the hall. No false apologies. Just space to breathe. And with that breath came clarity. She started to dig. The first thing she uncovered was Adam's second checking account. It wasn't technically secret, just one he never mentioned. Transfers from their joint account had been siphoned into it for months. Small enough to go unnoticed, frequent enough to accumulate. She downloaded everything, labeled it, built a spreadsheet. Next came the medical records. Years ago, Jessica had borrowed Samantha's printer and accidentally left behind a folder of documents. Samantha had scanned it out of habit. One file in particular stood out now, a medical bill for a procedure, termination. Their conservative, image-obsessed parents had no idea. Samantha didn't plan to expose it, but it revealed a timeline. Jessica had been involved with Adam far longer than either admitted. Then came the bombshell. The condo wasn't jointly owned. Back when they first purchased it, Samantha had used inheritance money from her grandfather to fund the down payment. Adam had poor credit then, and for legal simplicity, the property had been listed under her name only. She had forgotten until she found the notarized deed. Every legal document, from the mortgage to the utilities, listed her as the sole owner. She stared at the papers for a long time, not in disbelief, but in recognition. This wasn't just a breakup. This was a hostile occupation of her life. A meeting with a family law attorney laid everything bare. If she could prove adultery and financial misconduct, she had grounds for a fault-waste divorce. She could retain the condo, press for spousal support, and, if she wanted, sue Jessica for intentional infliction of emotional distress. The evidence was strong. Her silence had served her well. So Samantha played her part. She smiled on social media. She visited her grandmother and brought flowers. She replied to her mother's messages with vague civility. No one suspected a thing. But the quiet wasn't defeat, it was control. The calm before everything unraveled. For them. 3 weeks later, Samantha scheduled a family brunch at a quiet restaurant overlooking the water. The reservation was for 5, though she only truly wanted to see one of them herself walk out free. Her parents arrived first, her mother clutching a pink gift bag labeled, "The designer maternity dress." Her baby bump just beginning to show beneath a designer maternity dress. Samantha smiled politely and gestured for them to sit. Small talk filled the air. Her father commented on the weather. Her mother talked about baby shower themes. And Adam asked about Samantha's work, like they were colleagues and not estranged spouses. Jessica reached for the menu, acting as if she were the guest of honor. Samantha waited until the waitress left, then pulled out a small stack of sealed envelopes from her bag and placed one in front of each of them. Adam opened his first. His face paled as he read through the divorce papers, the property transfer form removing any claim to the condo, and several pages of highlighted bank transactions, evidence of financial misconduct. Jessica opened hers next. Her grin disappeared. Inside was a civil lawsuit for emotional distress, a restraining order preventing her from approaching Samantha's home or workplace, and a demand for repayment of the $12,000, 0 cents, she had borrowed over the years and never returned. Samantha's mother opened her envelope last. It contained no legal forms, just a letter, handwritten, every word laced with pain, clarity, and finality. It detailed years of favoritism, emotional neglect, and silence in the face of betrayal. It didn't ask for forgiveness. It didn't invite repair. It simply named the truth. Jessica's voice cracked. "You're suing me?" she asked, stunned. Samantha didn't look at her. Adam stood up, flustered, then sat back down, speechless. Their mother whispered, "This is too much, Samantha. Families forgive." Samantha finally spoke. Her voice was even, calm. "I am done playing the role you wrote for me." Jessica blinked, mouth open but no words forming. Adam tried to argue. "This will destroy the family. Can't we talk about this?" Samantha stared at him. "You should have thought about that when you moved my sister into my home." Jessica's eyes filled with tears, real ones, not the manipulative ones Samantha had seen for years. "How could you do this?" she whispered. "You did it first," Samantha replied. Her father said nothing. Her mother reached across the table, but Samantha pulled her hand back gently. There were no fights, no shouting, no theatrics. Her lawyer had filed the lawsuit that morning. The eviction notice for Adam was taped to the condo door. If Samantha chose, a press contact was ready to run the story. But she wasn't here for drama. She was here for peace. She stood, placed her napkin on the table, and said quietly, "Goodbye." Then she walked out of the restaurant, not looking back. For the first time, she wasn't carrying their burden. She left it with them, right where it belonged. A week after the brunch, Samantha's phone buzzed with a call from her attorney's office. She didn't expect anything significant, just a follow-up about court dates or paperwork. But the tone in her lawyer's voice immediately set her on edge. While building the civil case against Jessica, their forensic accountant uncovered something more disturbing than any emotional betrayal. Jessica had opened a credit card in Samantha's name over a year ago. Over $9,000, 0 cents in expenses, had been quietly racked up. High-end hotel stays, designer clothes, and prenatal care bills, all under Samantha's identity. Samantha couldn't speak. Her lawyer walked her through the findings in a steady voice, outlining next steps. They would be adding identity theft and fraud to the civil suit, and the credit card company had already been notified. A criminal investigation was likely. Samantha sat alone in her kitchen, the sunlight too bright, her hands shaking. She hadn't cried since that birthday dinner, but now the tears came fast, hot, and uncontrollable. She cried not for the money, not for the legal fight ahead, but for the sister she had tried so hard to love, the one she defended for years. The one who had stolen everything, even her name. Her Aunt Melinda showed up later that evening, sensing something was wrong. Samantha didn't explain. She didn't need to. She just collapsed into her aunt's arms and whispered, "I just wanted a family." Melinda stroked her hair and said softly, "You still can, just not with them." The following morning, Samantha's lawyer amended the lawsuit. The credit card company opened a formal investigation, and the legal wheels turned quickly. Identity theft wasn't just messy, it was federal. What had once been a family dispute was now a matter for the courts. Meanwhile, Jessica's social media presence shifted from bubbly pregnancy updates to thinly veiled jabs. "Some people just can't handle someone else's glow," one story read. Another, more pointed, "Bitter women always try to destroy what they can't control." But the comments weren't as supportive as Jessica had hoped. People asked questions. Some unfollowed. Others sent messages to Samantha in quiet silence. Adam wasn't faring much better. He had taken time off from work after the brunch, and within days, rumors swirled through his financial planning firm. Something about unauthorized account access. Nothing confirmed, but enough smoke to hint at fire. He eventually resigned. No farewell post, no explanation. Through it all, Samantha said nothing publicly. No vague tweets, no cryptic quotes, no retaliatory jabs. Just focused legal action, structured evidence, and airtight silence. It wasn't weakness, it was strategy. Because Samantha had learned that real power didn't come from clapping back or trading insults. It came from truth, handled with precision and patience. from allowing the facts to do what words could not. Her silence wasn't void. It was pressure. It was presence. It was the quiet before justice arrived, and she could feel it getting closer with every passing day. 3 months later, Samantha stepped into the courthouse, wearing a navy blue suit, her hair pulled back, her face composed. Her Aunt Melinda walked beside her, carrying a folder of neatly labeled documents. The courtroom was cool and quiet, but the tension was thick. Jessica was already seated with her lawyer, a fresh-faced associate who looked barely older than a law student. Jessica looked worn down, her pregnancy more visible now, but her usual smugness had faded. Her eyes darted toward Samantha and then away, as if expecting pity that wouldn't come. Adam wasn't there. Samantha spotted her parents in the back row. Her mother was whispering furiously into her father's ear, her mouth tight. Neither of them met Samantha's eyes. The judge entered, and court came to order. The civil case against Jessica was called first. Samantha's lawyer began methodically, presenting the timeline of events, the notarized fraud documents, screenshots of bank transfers. The forged signature comparison was the final blow. 2 identical loops, identical pressure patterns. Jessica's attorney fumbled, attempting to plead emotional distress due to pregnancy hormones, but the judge didn't even blink. The facts outweighed emotion. The ruling came swiftly. Jessica was ordered to repay the full $9,000, 0 cents in damages, to Samantha, plus additional fines for fraudulent activity. The judge also referred the matter to the district attorney's office for potential criminal prosecution. Jessica's eyes widened. Her hands shook. Samantha remained still. But her revenge didn't end there. Prior to the hearing, Samantha had filed a formal ethics complaint with the State Bar Association against Adam. Using documents pulled from their joint accounts and statements from former clients, she accused him of financial misconduct and violating fiduciary duties. She had also anonymously sent packets of evidence, including screenshots and handwritten notes, to a local financial news blog and 2 journalists. Rumors had already started circulating about Adam's sudden resignation from his firm. The court ruling only added fuel. The press didn't publish names yet, but industry insiders began whispering. Clients walked away. The firm's phone lines were flooded. Adam's name, once synonymous with dependability, now triggered suspicion. While the legal system moved at its own pace, Samantha made her next move. She sold the condo. The space where she had once imagined raising a family had become a crime scene of betrayal. She closed the deal in 2 weeks, packed what she wanted, donated the rest, and moved to Portland. There, she bought a modest craftsman house near the water, just her, a garden, and the sound of waves to mark her new beginning. But Samantha didn't disappear into peace. She built something. She launched a website called Silent Split. What began as a personal blog quickly became a platform for women like her, women betrayed by siblings, partners, and parents. Women who were told to stay silent. Women who had nowhere to turn. Submissions poured in, stories of stolen inheritances, silent divorces, emotional manipulation. She hired contributors, therapists, legal consultants. With 4 months, Silent Split had over 100,000 subscribers. The media took notice. Podcasters invited her to speak. Panelists praised her clarity. A TEDx organizer reached out personally. And so Samantha, once invisible at her own birthday dinner, now stood on stages with poise, telling the truth, not just for herself, but for others too. Jessica gave birth in the middle of all of this, a daughter. Samantha found out through a family friend's social media post. She didn't feel rage. She didn't feel sadness. She felt nothing, because she had learned something critical. Legacy wasn't about DNA. It wasn't about titles or roles assigned by birth. It was about what you built when they tried to break you. Samantha's legacy was built not from bloodlines, but from resilience. Not from revenge, but from fire. A year later, Samantha stood on a small stage in New York City, her heart steady, her hands relaxed at her sides. Behind her, A screen glowed with the words from the world's story. The room was filled with women, some survivors, some fighters, all listening. She wore a simple black dress and a silver bracelet her mother had once given her, back when things still felt like they could be fixed. But tonight wasn't about the past. It was about what came after. She didn't open with anger. She didn't even say her sister's or Adam's names. She spoke about truth, about silence, and what it takes to reclaim yourself after betrayal. She described how betrayal isn't always loud. It's sometimes quiet, calculated, made of whispers and omissions. She talked about losing trust not just in others, but in herself, and how slowly, carefully, she rebuilt it. Her words were clear, calm, and yet, they carried a force no yelling ever could. She spoke about the civil suit, the fraud, the identity theft. She talked about the court hearing and how walking away from people who call themselves family can be the bravest thing a woman ever does. She explained that justice doesn't always look like a grand slam in court. It sometimes looks like a quiet morning in your own home, knowing no one can take your name from you again. When she stepped off the stage, the applause echoed for a long time. Dozens of women lined up to meet her. Some cried. Some simply hugged her. Others handed her handwritten notes or whispered, "Me too." Each one saw something of themselves in Samantha, not just in her pain, but in her power. Back in Portland, her life was intentional. She'd kept things small on purpose. Silent Split had grown into a full-fledged digital platform with a volunteer legal hotline, survivor forums, and educational resources. Women who understood the language of rebuilding. They met weekly over tea and strategy documents, always making sure the mission stayed true. Give voice to the women no one believed. She adopted a rescue dog named Miles, a gentle mutt with a crooked ear and soulful eyes. He followed her everywhere, through the forest on morning walks, under her desk during long writing sessions, and into community centers when she spoke to groups of young women. She started dating again, slowly, cautiously. She wasn't looking for validation. She had that in herself now. She just wanted honesty, simplicity, and someone who didn't flinch when she told the truth. One day, a letter arrived. It was from Jessica. No return address. Inside was no apology, just a photo of her child, a small girl with big eyes and a soft smile. Samantha stared at it for a long moment. Then, without anger or sadness, she placed it into a folder labeled Coast and slid it into the back of her filing cabinet. She never opened it again. Her parents never called, never wrote, never asked if she was okay. And that was okay. She didn't need them to rewrite the past. She didn't need acknowledgement to validate her experience, because the power she found wasn't theirs to give. It was hers to claim. She had built something from ashes, not for revenge, for clarity, for peace. And now, for the first time, she didn't look back. She was too busy building forward. On a rainy Sunday morning, Samantha walked down the quiet street near her Portland home and slipped into her favorite cafe. The place was nearly empty, filled only with the soft hum of a barista steaming milk and the occasional tap of keyboards. She ordered chamomile tea and sat by the window, letting the warmth of the cup rest between her palms as raindrops raced down the glass outside. Her lap post half open before her, a blog post half open before her, a blog post down at the end. She leaned back, exhaled, and allowed herself to feel everything. Not the chaos of the past, not the betrayal or the fury. Just peace. A deep, settled peace that came from knowing she had faced everything that was meant to break her and didn't just survive. She transformed. Her Aunt Melinda came by often. They cooked together, planted herbs in the garden, and laughed over memories from years gone by. Some nights, they pulled out a box of old letters written by Samantha's mother. Sometimes the words brought tears, but sometimes they brought a smile. Her mother's voice, preserved in ink, still reminded her that strength could be quiet, and love didn't always come from blood. Samantha's life wasn't perfect. She still had moments when she woke up in a sweat, when the sound of a door slamming brought her back to that birthday dinner. She still had nights when the silence felt heavier than usual. But those moments didn't own her anymore. She met them with the same quiet strength she had built from the ground up. Because she was no longer that woman who sat frozen at a birthday dinner while her life imploded around her. She had walked through fire, alone, and come out not scorched, but sharpened. Her platform, Silent Split, continued to grow. More women shared their stories. Some asked for advice. Others just needed to be heard. Samantha responded to every message personally. Every woman deserved to know they weren't alone. And then one day, an email arrived. The subject line read, "Your story saved my life." Samantha clicked it, then read it aloud. A young woman named Elena had written about her own heartbreak, how her parents sided with her abuser, how she had packed her things and was preparing to drop out of school because she thought no one would ever believe her. Then she found Samantha's TEDx talk. She watched it twice, then 3 more times. "I didn't know we were allowed to fight back," the email said. "Now I do. Thank you for showing me how." Samantha felt her throat tighten. She closed her laptop slowly, placed her hand on her chest, and just breathed. She didn't cry. She didn't need to. The healing wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. She stared out the window again. The rain had stopped. The world was still. The storm, after so long, had finally passed. But her story? It was just beginning. Betrayal doesn't always announce itself with slamming doors or angry voices. Sometimes, it wears a smile. Sometimes, it shares your dinner table, your secrets, your last name. Samantha Parker didn't see it coming. Not from her husband, not from the parents who stood by in silence. But what they thought would break her only revealed the fire within her. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. She built. Samantha turned betrayal into a mission. She created Silent Split, a space for the unheard. She stood on stages and told her truth. She wrote, she advocated, and she rose, not in spite of the betrayal, but because of it. If you've ever been lied to by someone you trusted, made to feel small in your own story, or told that your pain didn't matter, hear this. You are not alone. You are not weak. And you are not done. Comment below if Samantha's story touched you. Share it with someone who needs to remember that silence doesn't mean surrender. And subscribe to Veiled Fury, where stories like these aren't just told, they're honored. Every week, we shine a light on women who rose from the ashes. Because here at Veiled Fury, every woman rises.